A former warehouse on Rivers Avenue in North Charleston will soon be transformed into an opportunity center for local nonprofits, startup companies, and job training. The Opportunity Center hopes to bring at least 800 people to work and help others in the Lowcountry. Today, I talk one-on-one with Bernie Mazyzk, one of the people spearheading this project for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Bernie Mazyzk, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thanks, and it's great being with you, Quintin. You're being good there at the College of Charleston.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. That's where we did our last interview a couple of years ago.
That's right.
Yes, sir. And obviously, you are the president and CEO of the South Carolina Association for Community Economic Development. Who is Bernie Mazyzk these days?
These days, Bernie is excited about what's going on in South Carolina, in the Charleston area. We have gone through a pandemic. We've gone through an experience that none of us have ever had before. But I am so excited, and I'm pleased with how the state has responded, how the community has responded to trying to overcome this pandemic. And now we are positioning ourselves to come out of this better than before. We are working hard to try to mitigate some of the challenges from before, economic challenges, and hopefully position our communities to come back stronger and build back better.
And what are those economic challenges that you have identified thus far?
Well, there are groups in South Carolina and frankly throughout the country that have always had disparities in various areas. And frankly, African-American communities, minority communities have continuously experienced disparities in health, in education, and in economics. So when you look at the data, you will see consistently minority communities have a gap from the majority, the Euro-American communities. And what SCASID has attempted to do over our 26 years is to work with policymakers, to work with financial institutions, to work with business community to help bridge that gap, to help mitigate those disparities so that we all can prosper and benefit from the American economy.
This might be a redundant question, Bernie, but where are the gaps in economic development locally?
Well, you have business ownership, you have the value of African-American businesses, you have income. Income is, there's gaps in the income and earning potential and earning ability of African Americans compared to white Americans. You have wealth and the accumulation of assets. There are gaps that exist there. Now, those gaps didn't just happen yesterday. Those gaps date back to the time of slavery, the time of emancipation. Because you have to remember, when the enslaved Africans were liberated or emancipated, or at the end of the Civil War, they had nothing. Our ancestors had nothing. And they had to work towards building assets. So those disparities, when you have nothing and you start in a deficient status, just by lowering all the barriers, you do not immediately come into the same economic status as everyone else. So the disparities date back to the time of the Civil War. And so we've been playing catch up ever since. So what you see today is a result of that. And it's going to require some innovative approaches to try to level the playing field and to bring into parity the African American and other minority communities with the mainstream economy.
And what are those innovative approaches that are ideal right now?
Well, we're looking at strategies of investment, how can we put the kind of investment in place that will help those communities that are at a disadvantage. We have some programs that are coming online related to access to capital, loan programs. We also want to look at the assets that African Americans currently have, like land, and how they can leverage that land to begin to build wealth. You also have home ownership, which is another approach to building wealth. And so we're looking to develop more programs and resources that's going to assist with that wealth building strategy around home ownership, business development, and even education, investing in education as well.
As a matter of fact, that brings me to my obvious point. The Opportunity Center. 4 South Carolina-based charitable organizations have announced their partnership in creating and operating a new concept for nonprofit-led economic development. This innovative concept will be called the Opportunity Center. And of course, you have a huge role in that particular Opportunity Center. Let me ask you this, Bernie. What's the state of nonprofit-led economic development?
Well, nonprofit-led economic development is an exciting time now. We've been working in this area for, as I said, 26, 27 years. The movement has been around for about 40, 50 years. And what it means is that as a nonprofit organization, we look at those strategies and approaches to economic development that the traditional economic development players often don't have the ability to focus on. For example, with the Opportunity Center, we're looking to create what we're calling an ecosystem, an entrepreneurial ecosystem for communities of color. What that means is, as the African American business community, but also the disadvantaged or the business community that works at a disadvantage, it needs access to capital, but it also needs wraparound services in order to be successful. Oftentimes, Black-led organizations and Black-led businesses do not immediately benefit from the relationships with the mainstream business community. So in order to gain access to people who have resources, who have connections, we have to put services in place and networks in place to help these businesses and nonprofits connect with those sectors, those decision makers, those policy makers that will help make their business and their operations successful. So the status of nonprofit business development is very good because there's finally an interest and a desire to invest in how nonprofits go about advancing economic development.
Now, let me ask you a simplistic question. How do you foster those relationships right now?
Well, we work with institutions like the Chamber of Commerce. We work with institutions like the Development Alliance. I work with the mayor, for example, the mayor of Charleston, mayor of North Charleston. We work with leaders and we work with institutions like the Coastal Community Foundation, who have relationships in those areas. And they serve as an ambassador, a bridge to help Black-led organizations, minority-led nonprofits, and minority-controlled businesses to gain access to those networks that's going to help our businesses and our work prosper. SCASID, my organization, has benefited from that for over 26 years. As we connect with the banking community, as we connected with state government, we've been able to create the kind of partnerships that really have helped our sector to thrive. And I think now the state recognizes that. As a matter of fact, with the last round of CARE Act funding, state invested in nonprofits and invested in minority entrepreneurs. So I think the state and other leaders in South Carolina have recognized the value of nonprofits, have recognized the importance of making sure that there's a thriving Black business sector. But we've got a long way to go, and we've got a lot of work to do in order to move that agenda forward. So we're hoping the Opportunity Center can be a nexus, a headquarters, where we can bring all those stakeholders together, develop these relationships, provide capital, also provide training and technical assistance to minority entrepreneurs so that they can become more successful, creating wealth and helping our entire state to prosper.
I hate going backwards, but let me ask you this, Bernie. You talk about obviously your organization and been around for 26 years. What is the biggest difference from 26 years ago to right now when you think of the value of nonprofit?
I think it's when we were back 26 years ago, there was not a full understanding of the role of nonprofits in wealth building and economic development. There was also not a real value and appreciation for what we would call community-based economic development. Our state pretty much invested wholly in attracting the Boeings, the BMWs, the Volvos, and by focusing solely on those approaches, they basically believed that that was the main and only way to grow the economic prosperity of our state. We, over 26 years, have been pushing the agenda and educating lawmakers about the value of businesses at the local level, the value of community-based economic development, and how that is a more sustainable way of growing our economy. Because if you start a business in the local community supports that business, you're able to grow that business. Well, I hate to say, but if you attract a Boeing to South Carolina using incentives, another state could provide better incentives to draw that company away from us. So, and that's, of course, that has not happened, and I don't expect it to happen to Boeing. But that's the risk you run when you put all of your eggs in that basket. We've been promoting to the state that we need you to invest in community-based economic development as well.
When you talk about Boeing and Volvo and all of these other entities that are here in Charleston right now, do you consider them the traditional players in this industry?
Oh, yeah, they're very much traditional players, but I think they're also global players. So they've seen how economies in underdeveloped countries and other countries have both succeeded and failed. So they may be more receptive to thinking a little differently about how we grow the economy here. But again, we have to educate them on the value of what exists in local communities, how those assets can be packaged in such a way to attract investment, and then to build and grow an economy from the bottom up and not just from the top down.
What exists here in this community?
Say that again?
Yes, sir. What exists in this particular community?
In the Charleston area, we have a wealth of assets. We have the cultural assets. We have the historic assets. We have skills here that we are only recently beginning to unearth. We have talents of young people that are interested in using technology to advance ideas around entertainment, ideas around production. So these are the kind of assets that we have in the Charleston area. And now these talented individuals are stepping forward to put forward their ideas of how we can grow economies locally. And now we need to work on creating the infrastructure that's going to support them, the training, the capital, the networking, the relationships, so that as they step forward with their ideas, they can step into a culture that embraces them and not shuns them, that builds them up and supports them and not discourages them. So that's the excitement that I see ahead of us. And I'm encouraged by what I'm seeing on both the institutional level as well as the talent coming from the community.
I had two questions, but the first, and I should ask this later on in the interview, towards the end of the interview, that is, but what should that culture look like in the next 5 to 10 years?
The culture should look diverse. The culture should look multifaceted. So we should someone should be able to come into a place like the Opportunity Center, and they should see a new entrepreneur coming from Summerville, South Carolina, sitting down with the CEO of Boeing or the CEO of Blackbaud and learning from their experiences. That culture should also have Charleston Southern University, the academic community, Trident Tech, also at that table sharing their knowledge and expertise. And then you'll have the financial institutions that are structured so that they can provide loan products that are accessible and affordable to that entrepreneur or to that nonprofit. So that's what that ecosystem should look like going forward. And it should be one that is culturally sensitive, that recognizes the unique culture of those coming from the low country and the local context, and be receptive to what they're bringing with them, and that what they're bringing is valuable and worthy of investment of time, talent, and resources.
Now, you mentioned obviously Charleston Southern and Trident Tech, but what are those other stakeholders that you want to bring to the table when it comes to the Opportunity Center?
Well, I mentioned a couple. I mentioned the Chamber of Commerce. I mentioned the Development Alliance. But I also want to see local government, the economic departments of North Charleston and Charleston, Somerville, Dorchester County, Berkeley County, the Council of Governments. I want to see those stakeholders at that table. I also want to see the business community on a local level. I'd like to see, of course, more of the banking community. We've been fortunate to have the banking communities out front in this area, but we always want to see a more robust leadership coming from the banking community. But I also want to see the philanthropic community. We have a great community foundation here in Coastal Community Foundation, led by Darren Goss. Right. I think we can also benefit from having the United Way at the table and other philanthropic partners. So I'm telling you, the table is large. It can hold a lot of different stakeholders, and by everyone leaning forward and into this, we can experience a Renaissance economy like one we've never seen before, that really looks like the Low Country, that has the face of the Low Country, the gender of the Low Country, the economic diversity of the Low Country represented, and we can actually be a model for the South if we really step forward and lean forward in a big way on this approach.
You talked earlier, obviously, about the underserved communities in the Low Country, and I'm wondering this: what are those low wealth communities here in the Tri-County and surrounding areas that need to be targeted and changed?
Well, they're urban and rural. You have communities and neighborhoods in the city of Charleston. You have neighborhoods in North Charleston, in Somerville. So I'm not going to name them, but they're all. But actually, the Opportunity Center is located in an area where near us are some of those under-resourced and underdeveloped communities. So no matter what county you look in, you're going to find marginalized, low-wealth communities that have yet to receive the investment to help them grow and prosper. And in each of these communities, they have their own challenges. Some of the challenges are around affordable housing. Right now, we are experiencing a challenge when it comes to affordable rental housing, where evictions are on the rise. You have homeowners that are being that have their mortgages in the rear, and so they run the risk of having being put out of their homes because inability to pay for mortgage. But we also have a lack of inventory of affordable housing. So these are communities that need a robust investment so that there can be affordable housing developed. I think I read a Post and Courier article last week that talked about the challenges of the African American community when it comes to housing. So these are some of the challenges that these neighborhoods face. And if they're not addressed, then you're going to have displacement of these residents from these neighborhoods, and you're going to have gentrification that's going to occur. And we will lose the cultural richness that we have if these individuals have to move out of the low country, out of the region, or even out of the state. So we want to make sure we provide every means to help them stay in their community, offer up their gifts and talents to make this the rich community that it can be.
This might be a silly question, Bernie, but
there are no silly questions.
In your 26 years of obviously entrepreneurship, has there been an entrepreneurial gentrification in the Low Country?
Oh yes, oh yeah. You can look in the city of Charleston. When I was younger, I can remember a robust African American business community. Unfortunately, because of the success of the city of Charleston in attracting all types of businesses and the cost of everything from real estate to operating a business skyrocketed, a lot of those African American businesses had to leave. So we've been working with the mayor, and I will say that Mayor Tecklenburg and the city of Charleston City Council has been very much engaged and interested in strategies that's going to help bring African American businesses back to the core center of Charleston. Because when we open up the International African American Museum, it would be a disservice to have people coming from all over the world looking at the contribution of African Americans to our city, our state, and our country, and then they leave the museum and cannot find an African American business that they can support, that they can experience. So we're talking with the mayor and city council right now about strategies that can both attract Black businesses back to the core of the peninsula of Charleston and to support them so that they can be successful. And I will say that the mayor and city council, they're listening. Their ears are open. They are the ones who actually established a racial equity task force that is looking at a variety of areas, one of which is economic empowerment, which is where a lot of these recommendations are coming forward.
Now, how radically inclusive will the Opportunity Center be?
Well, we're hoping it's going to be quite radically inclusive. As a matter of fact, the 4 nonprofits that are the co-owners of the center, 3 of whom are from the Low Country and are led by African Americans. And one of them is headquartered in Greenville, led by Don Oglesby, a Euro-American. But Don is very much interested in an inclusive approach to this work. So it's going to be radically inclusive. You have ethnic diversity, gender diversity, and we'll also hope to attract tenants and partners to the building that will also represent the diversity of the local economy. So we will have in that Opportunity Center an entrepreneurship success center. It's going to be a business incubator.
Right.
It's also going to have a women's business center located in there. We'll also have a training center, a workforce development training center there. Not to mention the headquarters for the Center for Heirs Property Preservation, Increasing Hope, which will lead our entrepreneurship work, and our headquarters, the South Carolina Association for Community Economic Development. So already the center represents diversity, innovation, and strategic thinking about the entrepreneurial ecosystem that we hope to build in the Charleston region.
Now, you talked earlier about the International African American Museum. What partnership do you want to have with them?
We would like to support them as they think about the businesses that can support their work. We also want to embrace the history that they will celebrate here and use that history as a springboard of how we can understand how we got to where we are, because we didn't get here overnight. And then lessons from that of how we can move forward in building a more inclusive economy. But in a practical term, we'd like to help support businesses that would either support the museum, but businesses that will also, we hope to benefit from the traffic from the museum. So we can see entrepreneurs that will come to us to help them start and grow their business. And then they may go locate in downtown Charleston. They may set up operations on the peninsula. So we're looking forward to that kind of symbiotic relationship.
Now, how much of the investment will the center put back into the community?
We are, of course, attracting already donations, investment from a variety of stakeholders, ranging from Truist Bank, Wells Fargo Bank, the hopefully South State Bank, and PNC Bank as well. But we also have investment from EDA, the Economic Development Administration, not to mention the Coastal Community Foundation. So those investments in the Opportunity Center is helping to build this and grow this out of the ground. We're by attracting SBA, who's financing the Women's Business Center. That's another example of investment into this local entity. So serving as the Opportunity Center, we hope to continue to be a magnet to attract outside investment into the work of the center. And by investing in the center, we'll be able to grow a new group of entrepreneurs, and which will benefit the local community.
Now, you talked earlier about talent in the community. Where are they exactly right now?
Oh, the talent is there. It just requires the elevation and the awareness to them that their talents matter. You can come to a location, share what your ideas are for entrepreneurship, and then receive the support that is going to help you take that idea and transfer it into a working business or a working nonprofit that's going to serve the community. The talent is already there. What I think we're trying to do is to create the awareness that there is an opportunity for you if you step forward and present your talent. But we have talent all in every community. We get calls at SCASA all the time about a new entrepreneur that wants to get started, or we get calls about a group that want to start a nonprofit to provide services. So the energy is here, and now we just need to create that spark that will help them to expand and explode and make their dream a reality.
What will that energy and spark be like for the Opportunity Center in the next 5 years?
Oh, we're hoping that we're going to see at least over the next 5 years, 100 businesses being established. Now, of course, that's not solely going to come out of the Opportunity Center, but we hope that we'll be able to network with a number of stakeholders where we can see 100 in 5 years, 100 small businesses established or expanded upon in the Tri-County area. To us, that would be a great testimony and a testament to the fact that, yes, there is entrepreneurial energy in this area, and it just needs support in order to move it forward.
Bernie Mazyzk, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
Thank you so much, Quintin, and thank you for the opportunity to speak to you again.
You're welcome anytime.